So now it's time for question and answer sessions. I think I can call Swati and Shantanu, and you can read out the questions. You can also ask me questions. I'm willing to answer. If I know, if I don't know, I'll get back to you. I'll check and get back to you. You can always contact me because this is one subject I'm very, very passionate about. Yeah, Swati and Shantanu. Yeah.
Namaskaram, sir.
Namaskaram, sir.
I'm not able to hear.
Okay.
Okay, can you hear us now?
Yeah, only now. Yeah, only now. I took off.
All right.
Yeah.
We are so glad, really glad to have you with us. And Bandish Arts is really blessed to get such a deep, knowledgeable scholar. That's what we would like to call, actually. Yes. So really, really thankful to you to take your time and your precious time. Everyone could see, and all of us can see, that how involved you were and with how much dedication. My God, this is unbelievable for us. Really, really thankful to you, first of all. And we warmly welcome to you to Bandish Arts. So, sir, before we could go for the Q&A session, I would like you to please put up a light to the artists, to the young artists like us, to how to indulge themselves not only in dance, but also in music, in literature, in poetry. You know, the depth of the nuances towards the art form, which is very, very important to become a complete artist or a complete rasika. That is very, very important for us to know.
See, first thing what is required is the passion. You'll have to be passionate about what you do. And an artist should not be sitting in a cocoon, especially an artist and especially a dancer. Because more than a musician, dancer is exposed to so many things because dancer, all said and done, depends on the musician, depends on the composer, and so many other things. Unlike the musician, where the musician plays the lead role and he's the accompanying artist on a stage, I'm talking about. Accompanying artist just play literally second fiddle to him or her. So you will have to be passionate about these things. It's not just language. Probably at times, because of my passion for Tamil, I would have sounded chauvinistic, but I'm not a chauvinist. It is just fact, as I said, facts as they are placed. And I love I have a flair for languages. It's not that I love only Tamil. Of course, I love English. And though I cannot understand Bengali that much, of course, I like Bengali as well. I watch a lot of Bengali movies. And my wife is a very good Rabindra Sangeet singer. So I appreciate those aspects. But literature, let us not again confine ourselves to Tamil, English, or Bengali, or Hindi, Urdu, etc. Literature should be studied by all, but mainly by artists, because that gives you that sense of, say, appreciation. If you study literature, you get that sense of appreciation. Like how I spoke about these poems and poets during the Sangam era. They all, they didn't care for anything. Of course, these Banargas went to the king for gift. But these poets wrote because it was their passion. And for that matter, why did even Bharati write? I didn't come to the contemporary literature because I wanted to cover Tamil music as it is. But why did Bharati write? Because it gave him that passion, and these people first appreciate the finer elements in life, and that is what is important. You'll have to appreciate finer elements in life, and classical music and dance and literature are linked. There is an inextricable link.
Absolutely.
These three. So develop that passion. Nowadays, I find that reading habit has gone. I mean, people just check on WhatsApp and then see on YouTube. Read a physical book and relevant books. If you cannot understand the language, there are a lot of translations available. Everything is available. Even these translations, authentic translations, they're available online. It's fine as long as they're authentic. But always better to read the physical books. A.K. Ramanujam for Sangam literature, as I was mentioning, and there are many other sources also. But first, develop that interest. That I'm a dancer, so I will focus only on dance. Why should I care about music? For example, once I remember there was this musician. I'm not going to name him. You know, you all are familiar with this camp which is happening 120 kilometers away from Chennai every year. Now he visited long ago, 15, 16 years ago, and he was a guest lecturer. There he said that dancer, okay, even if you don't understand the ragas, fine, but don't come to me and say that, can you please compose a song in the raga of Vatapi Ganapati? If you don't know even that Hamsatvani, there is a problem. So he said some dancers even do that. So dancers, you don't have to know about Grihabedam and other techniques. Fine, those are all reserved for other people. But at least
Mm.
appreciate music. For appreciating music, I keep saying that what you need are two ears and a heart. And don't confine yourself. I don't confine myself to only to classical music. You all know. I of course listen to a lot of film music as well. But listen to everything and assimilate, and that will come out in your work. That will come out in your work. Definitely, that will get reflected without any doubt. Okay, it took a long time to answer. Anyway, what is the next?
Absolutely. No, really, we
Amazing,
really need that.
amazing.
Thank you so much, sir. For the
Yeah.
next question, over to Shantanu.
First of all, namaskar, sir. We are
Namaskar.
really, really, really blessed to have you today with us. It's really an amazing session. It was so much informative. We learn a lot of things from you, seriously, today. Sir, I want to know that your depth of music, your depth of knowledge of music, it's so vast. We would simply like to know from where the seed started. If you please share your experience and who is your inspiration in this
There are other syllabus.
particular space.
Syllabus here, but I don't mind sharing. But because I think some of my friends are here, so they know my life story. I didn't start like this. I mean,
Please, please,
don't
please,
ever
sir.
think that I was born with that music, with, finding ragas and all that. It all happened during my formative years when I started listening to. Film musician. Okay, that might surprise many people, but there is nothing wrong. I don't have any sense of shame in accepting it because I'm actually proud of that. There was somebody by name, you all know, by name Ilayaraja, who entered film music, and once I found that music was so beautiful, I started exploring it. So I owe everything to him. Even appreciating classic, finer elements in life, it was all because of him. And yes, I grew up in a music family in the sense that my mother had a wonderful voice, though she was not classically trained, and my father was a connoisseur. He was a rasika to the core. But again, they didn't have the theoretical knowledge. But I started exploring. Of course, when they were listening, until my teenagers, when they were listening to music, I would just shut my ears and say, "What? How can you even appreciate this kind of music?" So it all happens. Maybe it just had to happen in my case. And I know there are many like me who developed interest after not just Ilayaraja, but probably some mentors. So there is some transformation which happens in human life, and that is inevitable. So that is how I developed, and then I explored further. I attended a lot of lectures and demonstrations, and then I read a lot. That I should underline. I still read a lot. I make it a point to read, and I can never call you people because of the love and affection you have for me. You call me a scholar, but I will not accept that at all because I consider myself as a learner first. I read a lot. I make it a point to read every day, and I keep expanding my horizon, and that is how it is. So that answers. I'm sure that answers your questions. Where my music, interest in music, attitude towards music, and say appreciation of music, everything is because of one gentleman. So I owe it to him.
Thank you so much, sir. Yes, and
Thank you,
after
sir. Over to Swati, please.
so I'm also one of those, as you said about Ilayaraja. So when I am thinking about him, I'll always see your frame. That's how you have put the impact on your fans about yourself. So to the next,
Yes.
to that note, I would like to add on the details which you have told about Kurinji, Marudam, Neidal, where this yar is particularly, compared to these places and all. Can you tell us a little more detail about that, like from where this indulged and how is this practiced in music, or right now at current situation of the music world it is. So how it is right now, and how at those times, in the ancient Tamil literature time, to the level of the practice, not only practice I will say, but to to the level of grammatical theoretical depth, how it was technically, and how it is now practiced in the current situation.
Okay, actually, there is, frankly speaking, there is no record of how these people practice. It was all, as I said, it was all part of their life. That is, they never assumed an air of authority and said that I'm a musician. Because as you can see, the verses, the poems, it just happens. That is the thunder sounding like Nadabhairavi, thunder sounding like Padumalai Pan, or bee singing, say, Sikamara Pan. So it was I think it was part of their life. They didn't assume anything at all. So when it is something part of your life, that is, you eat, you sleep. So likewise, for these people, music was part of their life, and dance as well. So there is, as far as I know, there is no record. Silappadigaram is the most authentic text about music theory. There were some books like Panchamarabu and Isai Nunukkam, and there were a lot of other books, but many of these books are lost in the sense that only some verses remain. And but those are all again theory books. There is nothing to say how these people practice, but there is a mention about in one of the verses. There is a mention about Gamakam also, just like you have Dasavida
Okay.
Gamakam in Carnatic music, 8 different Gamakas in one of the verses, which I didn't quote. So the Pana played yard with all those gamakams. So which means it happened, and also it was encouraged by the kings those days. As I said, kings were adept. They were all connoisseurs. They were all rasikas. They loved the language. They loved music, and they didn't have any hesitation in rewarding these people. So that I think probably I also may have to dig up a lot to read, because I'm also very curious to know how they practiced music, because we lay emphasis on practice. So did they practice at all, or it just came to them just like that? To all these barners, that is mainly these barners. That barner, Porunar,
Yeah.
and Kuttar were dancers, and Bereliers were also good in adept in singing. Just like again, if you take say, it's not, of course, out of place, but you take Devadasis. How were they? How did dance come to them those days? Right? Now it's again, it is totally different. I mean, that word itself is banned, but they were all very close to the Lord, and that mattered a lot. And so, how the society was, there are a lot of, again, there are a lot of myths, as I was mentioning in the beginning. I don't want to get political, but there are a lot of myths about even how the Tamil people lived. It is not that they were without gods. Huh? I may be a believer, I may not be a believer, that's different. But taking an objective view, this Paripadal sings verses on Vishnu, the first one which Virat sang, Vedattu Marayum Ni. That Vedas existed even before that. And somehow Vedas are being associated only with one particular community. Now it is wrong, and Sanskrit is being associated only with one particular community. You mention the name Sanskrit and it's being associated with one community. You mention the name Carnatic music, it's associated with one particular community. It's all totally wrong perceptions. Whether this community took over and all is totally a different aspect, which I'm not going to talk. I may have my own opinion about all that, but I'm not going to say. But there are also myths, the myths about gods, the myths about Tamil people are superstitious as well. There is something called Kanji Pan, where this Pan was sung in the war front by this foreigner, and it is supposed to drive away the ghosts, the evil spirits. So these people believed in that also. Okay, so they were all human beings. They were all natural. It is not that they had two horns. Like long back, somebody quoted that what Tamil people have two horns or what. But they didn't have two horns. Only thing is, they were about, since they enjoyed life, it was all part of their life. And no other literature in the world talks about all these. So, which obviously means that they had such a lovely life. So how they practice, I don't know. But again, myths, I think one should just take it with a pinch of salt.
Absolutely, absolutely. Beautifully explained, sir. Thank you so much for this. And over to the next question for Shantanu. Yeah.
Um, Sir, there is a doubt. We are really very curious to know to the details you have given. Is there any impact of Hindustani ragas in Tamil literature? If you give some example to us. So,
Yeah. Okay. See, as I was mentioning, um, it may not be acceptable to many, but the fact remains that Carnatic, Hindustani, and Western classical emerged from this Tamil music. I quoted this Greek historian whose name was Straub. And you can also check in, it's actually from an authentic source, Sangeet Natak Academy publication, where he has mentioned this. And that is where I read this from. So Hindustani, actually there was no, forget even Tamil music, there was no, say, discrimination between Carnatic and Hindustani until the 14th century. Sangeeta Ratnakara was written somewhere around 13th century, where there is no it mentions about Carnatic. It actually mentions about Tevara Pant. Sangeeta Ratnakara, there's a mention about Tevara Pant, and also Takesi Pant, which is the equivalent of Kambodi. So Hindustani music actually emerged much later, and initially it had Carnatic influence, and after that it had that Mughal influence. I love Hindustani music, no two ways about it. But origins trace back to this, and as I quoted Rag Lalit existed as Sevvadi Pant, and it was also full of pathos. And people who know Hindustani music know how Lalit sounds with the two madhyamams. So Hindustani, actually it was born from this. It was first even this Carnatic music, because there was nothing called Carnatic. They say that this that Tungabhadra and that Kaveri, that entire region was called Karnataka. That is why it is Carnatic music. I don't know, that's debatable. Some people say Karnam means ears. So what is pleasing to the ears is Carnatic music. Then we say Karnatakamanadu, that is very Thunmayanadu, Padamayanadu. Because of that, it is Carnatic music. Those are all different. But as far as Hindustani music is concerned, Hindustani music, say, branched out of this common music that which was existing around 13th century. Hindustani music was born only after that. I mean, emerged only after that, after 14th century. Before that, there is no record. Even if you take, there are a lot of parallels between Carnatic and Hindustani. The raga system is unique to our Indian classical system. So a lot of parallel and a lot of differences also. But again, that influence mattered a lot, and I love it. I mean, because of influence, we're getting some very good music. Because of the Mughal influence, we're getting some. So no need to blame anybody, the invaders and all that. Those are all, according to me, sheer nonsense. But we get to hear such beautiful music. So that, I think, answers the question. So Hindustani music was born much later.
thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Uh, uh, Over to Swati. Swati, for the next.
Yeah. So, sir, yeah, can we take? I just suddenly got this question right now. So that's how we can take with the talam also, as we know the sapta talas are right now currently there in Carnatic, but before that we even had more numbers of talas. But in Hindustani we say no, that the talam are like to the infinite. So many talas are there in Hindustani. So can we say, like, I mean, like a doubt kind of a thing, that is it extracted exactly from these talas only, or they had their independent own talam? Because some of the talams are very much relevant to each other, almost same actually.
Actually, to answer the question, of course, apart from the Tamil music, Carnatic music pays more importance to Tala than Hindustani music. If you take the compositions, and if you take the typical concert, because there is nothing called Tanyavartanam in Hindustani music. Some people do that, but just a kind of saval.
Yes.
So Carnatic music, Tala is inherent. But are you talking about Tamil music? Did it come from that, or is that your question?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to
See,
ask.
rhythm is there in our lives. There is no, like how Arnagirnadar proved. He has composed in more than hundreds of talas. And those talas still, like I showed 21 aksharas. Then there is 19, there is 17. There are so many other permutations and combinations. So tala, I think it was all existing. As I said, one of the verses in Malay Padukadam even talks about an instrument which is used to measure the timing. right? Just like Jalra, a boy will put the talam in an Adaswaram concert. Now this padigai was used to measure that talam, that measure the count. So it obviously existed, and talas were called as pani. Tamil music, they were called as pani. And looking at the number of percussion instruments, muravu, mattalam, even this one of the presentations of this Kuriyatam gentleman was mentioning about various that he mentioned about this finding a reference mention in Silapadikaram as well. Right? There
Yes,
are
yes.
so many different varieties of percussion instruments used in Tamil music. So talas are more natural actually. Talas are more natural than melodies because everything is
Absolutely.
even the world. Say the earth rotates to a rhythm and your heart beats to a rhythm. So it's there in our life.
Absolutely, absolutely. Beautifully wind. This the conclusion was very, very beautiful, sir. To that note, I would like to wind up the question with this is something technical. We have seen Viraj is also a very beautiful singer and a practitioner. So you have been attending several beautiful concerts. You have been with the legends, and you yourself are a great musician, lyricist, and actually Rasika, and all these details. I mean, no, yeah, seriously, you have a lot. You have a bunch of knowledge. So I would like to know. A kind of a technical suggestion from your side, especially to the young practitioners for the music, not only just young practitioners, also the senior artists, that how to, improve their level of not just practice. I mean, we need some technical details to work on, or passion is something which you have said, but other than that, something which you could share from your side, give us some suggestions that how we can indulge us more deeply in this, how we can make it more fruitful to others, not just on the aspect of performance from our side, but also, in the collective manner for everybody.
Okay, you
That's
mean
what I want to know
technical?
from you.
Yeah, you mean technical details in music
Yes,
for a dancer, or are you
yes.
talking about
Music, absolutely
music?
music.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. On a lighter note, long back, of course, I'm still a fan of a batsman called Sunil Gavaskar. So once he was asked, "What is your advice to openers, say budding openers?" He said, "Don't become an opener. You'll have to face a barrage of bouncers and fast bowling. Why do you want to become an opener? So why do you want to break your head with all these technical details? Just enjoy music as it is." But again, on a serious note, best way is to attend concerts and lectures and demonstrations. See, I have, as I think some of you know, many of you may not know, I'm not trained in classical music. I've not attended even a single music class. So, whatever little I know is because of my exposure to music. Uh, and I've attended lots and lots of concerts during my younger days. Doesn't mean I'm old now, but so I attended a lot of concerts and also lectures and demonstrations, and that is how I assimilated everything. And as I said, still I'm learning. So the best way is to listen. If you listen, definitely it will automatically fall in place. How did I know about this Graha Vedam? For example, long ago, I can share this. Say sometime during late 80s, one of the violinists who was my very close friend those days. She came home and she said, "See, yesterday we played at Ilayaraja sir's house, and he played this nothing but wind record, and he said he spoke about Graha Vedam." Then I asked her, "What is Graha Vedam?" Then she said shifting. Then only then did I even come to know of the Griha Vedam, right? So you pick up information. Then I went deep into that. Okay, what is this Griha Vedam? How does it happen? Then I found that Ilayaraja sir used so many. I mean, in many songs he used Griha Vedam, and that is how I picked it up. And now when a musician is doing, I'm able to do it. So listen and don't close yourself. Like see, even if you talk about film music, I don't close myself to Ilayaraja. I listen to a lot of Hindi film music, old Hindi film songs. I'm a huge fan of R.D. Burman and S.C. Burman and Salil Chaudhary, you name it. And yes, old Tamil songs, M.S. Vishwanathan is next to Ilayaraja to me. right? So don't close yourself. This is the only music I will listen to. Only Hindustani. Who listen to Carnatic? Carnatic. Why only? Why should I listen to Hindustani? That's too boring. Why should I listen? Even actually, Carnatic musicians also do that. They even perform musicians. They say, why should I listen to Hindustani? And Hindustani, vice versa. Hindustani musicians will say. So don't be closed. Listen to everything. Pick up, and then that will automatically get reflected. You don't have to do it consciously because learning is unconscious. It just happens. You take notes, but it just happens. So listen, especially dancers. You hardly find dancers. Even my father-in-law used to say that most of you dancers I don't find in performances, not dance performances and also music concerts. Why don't you people attend music concerts and listen to that talam and ragam? Then you pick up. It will not be with any agenda that I am going to use this in my next performance. But just listen to it as a beautiful piece, and everything will automatically fall in place.
Absolutely, sir. I think this is a big message through
Absolutely,
Bandish
absolutely.
Arts. Yeah, that
True.
is what you have given the final note. Listen to everything,
Everything,
read,
exactly.
and understand, should have the curiosity to understand all kinds of the chains to which our art form is circulated with.
Exactly.
This is what was the purpose of Bandish Arts, to bring all of us together, not just dancers, not just musicians, or not just instrumentalists or percussionists, but every artist. And as you have said, all of us are surrounded with the talam, and all of us are
Hmm.
artists. So really
Exactly.
thankful
True.
for this, sir. Such a beautiful wind up to this session. And once again, we really express our deep gratitude and namaskarams to you
Thank
that
you
you
so
have
much.
accepted our invitation, took your precious time for us, and shared your knowledge with all of us. I'm very sure our Rasikas have really enjoyed. And as such, we see there are no questions, which means that much clear this session was.
Seriously.
So,
I was
really
thinking about
thankful
it.
to
You
you.
don't have any questions, either you understood everything or you have not understood anything. Anyway, I'm always available. So anybody, if they have any questions on Tamil literature, especially Sangam literature, which is very close to me, and music to a certain extent, definitely I'll be able to clarify. If I'm not able to clarify, then I'll definitely refer to some authentic text and then clarify. So that's an open message to everybody because I love one of my passions is to share whatever I know, and that is my profession as well. I believe in sharing knowledge because knowledge is not meant to be just kept in a cold storage like a refrigerator. It has to be shared, and only then it spreads. And that has always been my objective. And I must thank you both because you approached me, of course, apart from being very close friends, you approached me and you left the topic to me. You said you do whatever you want. And then I came up with this topic, and I really thoroughly enjoyed preparing for this. Last 3 weeks, I've been doing this, setting aside everything because I wanted it to say cover just 1 hour and also cover all the aspects, all the dimensions. I'm not sure how far I've succeeded in that, but if I've succeeded in creating at least some kind of awareness for people to learn more about Tamil, about music, and about mainly about literature, not just Tamil literature, literature around the world, then I've succeeded in my mission. And a very big thanks to both of you. And you have put up with some of my idiosyncrasies. I'm known for idiosyncrasies, so you put up with that. I know even before this. So thank you so much, and I thank all the people who are here. And as I said, any questions, anytime you can direct it to me. Thank you very much.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you,
sir.
all the
Thank you so
Rasikas.
much. Thank
All
you.
right.
Exactly. Namaskaram.